For Real Agriculture, I'm Kelvin Hepner. There's been discussion, I think, going back at least 2 decades about the construction of a center in Winnipeg to bring together to serve as a hub for Canada's grain industry and value chain. We've reported here on Real Agriculture that Cereals Canada was working on a proposal, and today they have announced their vision for the Global Agriculture Technology Exchange, or GATE. And joining us to discuss this announcement, we're pleased to have Dean Dias, CEO of Cereals Canada. It's good to catch up, Dean, and I know you have your board of directors in town, so thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thank you, Kelvin. I'm glad to be here.
So why don't you fill us in your words? What is the Global Agriculture Technology Exchange? Why is it needed, and what would it look like in the future?
So Kelvin, as you mentioned, this conversation has been going around for couple of decades. But the thought right now is we are coming to an end of our lease as of 2027. And the current facility just does not meet our current needs and future needs. And the vision of GATE came about to be a space where we can put our best foot forward, thinking about what we can do now and into the future to continue to build global demand for Canadian cereals. And while doing so, can we have others participating and working collaboratively with us to drive this forward for the next 50 years or so? So the vision right now is to be in a facility that is going to drive future growth for the Canadian industry.
What type of work would happen at this facility?
So we have been, evaluating along with our members, looking and having discussions about what we need now and into the future. And we know that current customers have certain requirements, which has to be translated into value. And Canadian crops, as you know, are known for quality. And it's not just any quality, it's quality that actually is functional for different end products. And if Canadian wheat is being used as an improver wheat, how do we support them better? So this new facility is going to, help us do some of what we do now, but also what the requirements of the future are. What are the new food trends? Where is, the new food end products going into? We want to evaluate that, and we want to be, ready to support that for our industry.
Okay. So the number $100 million has been discussed in at least, I'd say, on background over the last number of weeks as word about these plans was being discussed in the industry. That number was included in the press release this morning, a preliminary cost estimate of around $100 million. I think it sounds like a lot to some people when they hear that number. What would that price tag include, Dean?
So yes, we've engaged with, engineers and infrastructure experts to figure out what we really need. And we've done our current needs assessment and done some functional programming based on that. And yes, $100 million is where the current vision is landing up with. But we continue to review that, right? However, that $100 million is everything that we need, right? It includes the land cost. It includes basic infrastructure, but then it also includes specific requirements, Kelvin, in the sense that if you are putting in something to do with a flour mill, flour, requires certain type of codes. You need certain type of concrete because the mill shakes. You need certain type of electrical codes, right? So, and this number also includes equipment, and I would say equipment that, some equipment will move with us from here, and some equipment that we currently do not have, and we want to provide better support for crops like oats and work on couscous and so on. Those are all the things that is part of that vision.
Okay. Who is driving this? Is this being driven by the need to move out of the current facility at the Grain Commission building, Dean, or is there also a drive from members in terms of your stakeholders and people around the board table in terms of needing or seeing catching this vision? Where is the motivation for this big project coming from?
Well, the motivation started some years ago, because we've been challenged in the current space, because this building has served us well, for the last 50 years, but it also has a lot of limitations, and it does not meet the current needs we have and the future needs we want. And this is where the journey started, right? So it is driven by our current situation.
Okay. You mentioned the price tag includes the land. We've seen some documents where it's proposed on a piece of land that is currently, I believe, a parking lot east of the Fairmont Hotel. And I'm also told that it's owned by the Richardson family. Is that where you're looking to have this new cereals, the gate facility built?
So Kelvin, we've analyzed a lot of space in downtown Winnipeg. That has been one of the options. There's other options as well at the table. We are currently looking at what do we need as a vision for Cereals Canada, right? Can we meet that? Can we finalize our functional programming? Once we know that, we can move into the discussion about what land is available for us to develop that.
Okay, so the actual physical site hasn't been nailed down yet. You're not down to only one spot.
Yeah.
Okay. What about, of course, the next question I think is also funding. What are you anticipating in terms of a model for raising the funds to have this facility built?
Well, the model is we are launching a capital campaign, right? We want everybody in the ag industry and the broader Canadians to be proud of this facility, and this vision that is going to drive future growth for Canadian agriculture. So the capital campaign is going to focus on, getting donorships and funds through agribusinesses, industry associations, individuals and corporations. And we're also working to get, federal, provincial, and city, support to make this happen.
Do you have targets in terms of how much would potentially come from each? I know there's been talk about a third from members, a third from one level of government, and a third from another level of government. Is that still something that you're aiming for, or do you see more of it coming from the members of Cereals Canada?
Right now we are still working through that model. Okay. The thought is, we want to make sure that, everybody that is part of the value chain and everybody who benefits has a way to support it. And those things, the ratios will evolve as we finalize our plans.
Okay. You mentioned, Dean, that this is also part of an overall process of reevaluating, and I'm sure this is something that happens continually, but has there been a focus recently in terms of what is the purpose and mandate of Cereals Canada going forward to justify this level of investment in bricks and mortar?
So Kelvin, we do analysis like this on a regular basis. We are always on strategic review cycles, every 3 to 5 years and so on. And we review what we need, right? And it's good governance to do that. And all I can say is I'm just coming out of 2 days of board meetings, and our board members are aligned and are, supportive of the vision of GATE.
Okay, so are all the board members on side, or is that a board decision that was made in the board meeting? Can you provide any detail on that?
So the board members are, entire value chains, right? So we have farmer members, we have exporters and grain handlers, we have life science companies and processors. And it was everybody who's at the board table is supportive of the GATE vision.
Okay. We do know that there is some upheaval in terms of membership and companies giving some withdrawal notices, which we understand is a 2-year process, so not something that takes effect immediately, and those decisions could be reconsidered. What can you tell us about that from your perspective, and how does that impact the potential for the vision for GATE going forward in terms of funding and getting this project across closer to the finish line?
So we do not comment on membership renewals because of member confidentiality and their privacy. We are unique in that sense, Kelvin, that we have a 2-year with like a process that's to make sure that we have financial stability as an organization, right? Members will review their membership in different associations, including ours, on a regular basis, and they have to do their own due diligence as well. And they might have multiple reasons to review whether they want to be at certain associations, and that's their prerogative to do that, and we encourage that. The 2-year notices doesn't mean that they will ultimately leave. It could also mean that they are just starting their review process and they've provided a notice, and that in 2 years they'll ultimately decide to stay, right? We encourage to have conversations with our members, and we continue those conversations. And as I mentioned, the funding of the GATE vision is through a capital campaign.
So above and beyond your regular membership contributions, is that what you're implying?
That's correct.
Okay. What would the impact be, though, or what would have to change at Cereals Canada if you do have a significant number of grain company members depart? Is that something that you have to factor into your conversations now about the future of the organization and what it looks like?
Well, as a value chain member-driven organization, that is going to be strategic discussions, right? And we work for our members, and the members will be the ones that will drive what we do and what we provide tomorrow. And as of today's conversations and yesterday's conversations, the board is aligned and wants to move ahead with this vision, and we will continue to do that. And at the same time, evaluate, what is needed in this space.
All right. Any final words then in terms of what the next steps are? When do we expect that capital campaign to be launched, or further developments in terms of details or funding announcements, those types of things, Dean?
Kelvin, today's goal was to launch the vision, right? We are working towards what the capital campaign launch would look like, and any of the other funding announcements and so on will be done soon. So I'll say we'll keep you posted and stay tuned. But what I would say is it is a critical time in the grain industry. And we are working along with our members to make sure that, we can stay competitive now and into the future. And what does that mean for the grain industry is we as a value chain can provide the support required, not just for Canadian stakeholders, it's also for the customers. How can we stay competitive and provide the vital services we provided for 50 more years?
All right. Thank you again for your time today, Dean.
Thanks, Kelvin.